about we just dive right into our special guest for today? I'll just hand it over to you just to give him a proper introduction.
All right. So, well, you guys know, I think a big part of what we want to try and do with the podcast and Code Collective is kind of just shed some light and connect with other car enthusiasts, build a car community, right? Jason is someone that I've been following on Instagram for a while, and he's built quite a bit of a small following, and he's someone that I constantly look up to for cool car content, right? So I reached out to him, and we just wanted to have him on the podcast to really discuss talk about his journey, right?
Yeah.
Being a father, being a car enthusiast, and I think we share a lot of things in common. So I thought it would be dope to have him on and kind of hear him out and see how things are like over there in Calgary.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm excited. So without further ado, let's bring him in. I'm just gonna pull him into our Zoom call here. Okay, he should be joining us shortly. Okay, what's going on, Jason?
What's
guys?
up?
How are you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for being patient with us while we were setting up, man.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties, as expected, but we are kind of getting better and faster with it. So thank you so much for waiting for us patiently.
No worries.
Yeah, so I kind of gave a brief introduction as to what we're trying to do with this podcast and why we're connecting with you, Jason, right? So I touched on how you're a big car guy over in Calgary. I've been following your builds, I've been following your blog, all that for a while. So do you just want to give an introduction as to who Jason is, and then all the things that you're involved in?
Yeah. So I guess I kind of consider myself as a creative, maybe a jack of all trades but master of none. So I'm a photographer. I'm kind of an artist, a car enthusiast, just like you guys. So I kind of just dabble in a bunch of little things like that, and I do have my own blog, and I have had my own blog for maybe the last 12, 13 years now. And since then, I've just been kind of building it up and, just making it my own and sharing my photography, my life. I guess we could talk about that more later, but yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that was a great introduction. And you are essentially a jack of a lot of trades. And that kind of brings us to our next question. Why don't you talk about, your journey as a car enthusiast, how that kind of came to be, like, how your passion came towards cars and such?
Yeah. I think it started kind of like a lot of us, before I could even drive. I was, going to the grocery stores with my parents and picking up super streets and importuners and, admiring all these cars and, saying one day I'm going to build one like that. And, you dream and you dream and you dream. And then finally, your day comes and you get your first car. And, I was lucky enough with my parents and, blessed that they got me my first car, and it was a 2006 Honda Civic. And it was just the base model, and special, but, it was a good base to start on. And that's kind of where I learned a lot of, what I know today about cars, practicing and trial and error and, messing things up and buying the wrong and the cheap parts and having to do it all over again. And so, that's kind of where it started. And my art kind of helped there too, right? Like, I used to draw the cars that I wanted to buy, and I used to dream, and I used to go on the dealership websites and build them out and say, hey, this car's only $50,000. That's cheap. I can afford that. You don't know anything at 13, 14 years old. You think you can afford it, have anything else to pay for. So that's kind of how my journey started.
Yeah, because you started off with the Civic, and then I think you moved on to the STI,
Yeah.
right? What year was that? What generation was that again, Jason?
So that was the 2011. That was the GR sedan. That was when just when they reintroduced the sedan again after they had brought out the hatches. So that was also when I got my first real job out of university. And as soon as I got the job, a couple weeks later, I went and bought that car because I said, as soon as I get a real job, I'm going to go buy myself a real car. And so I did. So that was the next project car. And then that one didn't last too long. I built that one up and I got kind of bored of it. You know, it was my dream car as a kid. And after having it for a few months, I was just like, yeah, you know, this is not all that I wanted it to be. I went and Grandpa Mobile. I bought a 2006 Lexus LS 460L. So I wanted to kind of build a VIP styled car, and that was the cool thing back then for me anyway. And you know, I just kind of got lured into that scene, and I did it. And again, you know, it's a grandpa car. That's all it is. You can go fast straight, and that's it. You're turning like a big boat most of the time, and so other than that, it's kind of boring. And then I traded in for an FRS, a more fun car, something to kind of, you know, zoom around in, much different than the Alexis. And, you know, that lasted me a few years, and I said, this is going to be my forever car. And then, you know, family comes along and kids come along and suddenly you can't drive it anymore. It just sits in the garage. So, and then that's kind of where I am today with my Type R. So. Yeah,
you've definitely had a very diverse bunch of builds, right? From the Civics to the long wheelbase Lexus VIP build, you know, going in with the STI, right? So that's really cool. Like out of, you know, each of those cars represented like a chapter in your life, right? What would you say is, you know, your favorite build? Right. And I know they're all special, even if they only last, even if you're only building them for like 6 months to a year, whatever it is. But like, what would you say? Which one is your favorite?
Well, I mean, I guess right now my favorite is the Type R for sure. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the FRS is probably my favorite build. I put a lot of effort into that one, and I put a lot of money and thought into it. And as I was building it, ever since the beginning, I always told myself that this is the car that I was going to keep, you know, until I was old. And you know, I have a couple friends that have cars from the 90s that they're still building, and they're considered, you know, like the OGs. And, you know, you see them at one show a year because they barely drive them. And I kind of wanted that, and I wanted the FRS to be that. But you know, when the kids came along and everything, I couldn't just stand watching it sit in the garage, you know, all year, and me drive maybe a couple times on the weekend and in the summer, and that was it. So I moved on, but that one was my favorite for sure.
So was that tough letting that one go?
It was. It totally was. I remember the day that I decided, I was like, no, I'm going to part it out. I'm going to sell it. I put the part out list on my Instagram story, and within 1 hour, everything was gone.
Wow.
And I didn't think it was going to go that fast. I kind of put it up there, and I just said, well, when it goes, it goes. And if, you know, if it doesn't, I'll just keep it. And then, you know, you never know. And the next thing you know, an hour later, it's gone, and I'm shipping things off. I have all this money to put towards the Type R, and here I am today.
Yeah, I think that speaks to kind of like the community that you've kind of built through IllMotion, through, you know, your IG page and through your blog, right? I know I've been following you for a long time, and I loved your FRS build. You know, going with
Thank you.
The way you've selected each, you know, aero part down to the wheels. You know, there's just a lot of thought and, you know, careful execution went into that, as with most of your builds, right? So do you want to share how IllMotion and what the community and car scene is like in Calgary and all that?
Yeah, maybe if I can back up to the beginning of Ill Motion, I'll start there. So, I originally started my own blog, way back in 2009, 2010, and it was on Blogspot. It was just like this, very cheap blog platform, and that's when I started kind of sharing my photography and my car and whatever I did to it. And then one day, a few of us decided, hey, wouldn't it be cool to just kind of create a group and come up with a cool name and come up with some cool stickers and then, just slap it on our cars. And we did that in a matter of an evening. We came up with a name, we came up with a design for the sticker, and that was that. And I posted it up on my Facebook just randomly because I was excited, and everybody loved it. And at the time, car groups weren't really a thing. There was, Can I Beat? There was Fat Lace. There was Stance Nation. And those guys were based out of the States, but there's nothing Canada had to offer. And I think that's kind of what excited people and the locals here. And so that kind of took off. And, I used my photography skills and, my blog building skills, I guess, and my writing skills to kind of help put Ill Motion together too, with the help of our friends. That we coordinated a bunch of photo shoots with random guys we've never met before. They reached out and said, hey, can we get a photo shoot? And everything that we did was for free. We never charged anybody for a photo shoot. We gave them stickers for free, and we just kind of wanted to spread what our local car scene was like. And so over the years, the last 10 years, what we've been trying to achieve is just building up that car scene. And so every year we put on, the Sunday school car show. And I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's probably one of the biggest shows locally here. And we put it on, with a minimal fee. Every dollar that we made, we donated to a different charity every year. We didn't pocket any money, and if we did, we use it to make new products to sell, and then the money we made from that we used to donate again. So we never really made money off of it. It was really just for the fun of it. And this year was supposed to be our last show, but with COVID happening, we had to cancel it. So next year, we're hoping that can be our big bang, last show for the city and everything. So yeah, that's kind of where Ill Motion started off and where we're ending now. We're just we're getting old, and we just don't have time to do that stuff. So
yeah. I think one of the things that really stood out to me is that, obviously, opening up a car or exposing Calgary car scene, right? So I think that really stood out to me. But another thing that really stood out to me is the fact that you guys raise money for these different charities as you're doing these shows, because I understand that you guys raised almost $10,000 in the last two shows. Am I correct?
Yep. Over the years, man, I don't even know the dollar amount that we've raised. And I think it's more, we're not doing it to, gain any clout or anything. I think it's just when we found how much money we could make. I'm not gonna lie. Part of it was like, if we pocket this, we could build our cars. But at the same time, we said, that's kind of the wrong thing to do. We're making money just because we love doing this. Why don't we give it somewhere else? So each year, each one of us would take a turn to decide who did we want to donate to, and that was good. It ended up being, a feel good practice every year for us. So that was awesome.
Yeah, no, that's really dope. I think just doing things like that, it shows the community. It shows everyone who's involved that, we have a cool opportunity to get together as enthusiasts, and it's more than just, who has the nicest car, who has the authentic wheels. It's like, we're building this community, we're building this relationship. Let's help other people who are maybe not as fortunate, right?
Yeah.
And just hearing you guys kind of starting IllMotion and reaching out to other enthusiasts to do photo shoots and stuff like that to build that community. That's really cool, right? Because I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do over in the GTA here, right? Is actually building that same community and trying to do it the right way, right?
Yep, for sure.
So as you guys have been doing this for a while, did your blog and photography come before, you started building cars, or was it kind of around the same time?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, my blog came, a little bit after. So when I got my car, back then, it was like 2006, 2007. That was when I got the Civic, and forums at the time were a big thing. Everybody was on forums for their their own platform. And when I joined there, you'd look at, okay, what did you do to your car today? Those kind of threads or picture threads. And there were a few guys on there that posted really dope photos. And back then, point and shoots and Blackberries were the thing. So when you see photos from like an SLR from people who know what they're doing, before you even know what photography is, you're just like, how can I take pictures like that? And so I tried to replicate it with my point and shoot, and I didn't have a tripod. I used a Home Depot bucket, and I turned it around and I put my camera on top there, and that's how I'd use what I'd use as a tripod, and I would try to edit using free software, but it was never the same, no matter how hard I tried. So my parents ended up getting me an SLR for my birthday. And that's when I kind of started to teach myself photography. I learned myself. I read up on, aperture and f-stops and, shutter speeds and how that all kind of works together. And every night I would go out and I would just practice in a parking lot, and I would take photos for hours by myself and then come home and spend hours trying to edit it to make it look like the people on the forums. Over the years, that's kind of what I learned. And once I started getting better, I said, I want to share these dope photos that I'm taking. Like, how can I do that? And Facebook was very new at the time. Not a lot of people were on it. There was no other platform to share it on. And you guys are probably familiar with Jay from JDM Ego. Back then he used to post a lot of his photos of his Evo and everything. And I looked up to that guy, and I was like, man, every day I would come home and I would refresh his blog because I wanted to see pictures of his car on his driveway and the new things that he did to it. So I kind of took after that, and I started blogging, and I just posted whatever I took pictures of it, and whoever cared to look at it, that was cool. And over the years I kind of just built up this I guess this group of friends, and that love to just see what I love to do, and that's kind of like what I appreciate from a lot of my friends and followers is they just love to see what I'm doing, and I love to share it. So
how long have you been shooting for?
I think I've been shooting for probably about 15 years now.
Wow.
So 15 years I've been kind of dabbling in photography, shooting, practicing on cars, on people whenever I get the chance. And I really love shooting cars, and I've done tons of photo shoots that I posted on my blog over the years. And for the most part I do the photo shoots for free. And I know a lot of photographers are probably cringing a little bit because they're saying, well, why are you doing it for free, man? You're ruining it. But at the same time, it gave me the ability to practice on other cars, in other sceneries. And if I could have made a couple bucks here and there, but the way I saw it was, this is an opportunity for me to grow, to learn, and that's what I did.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, because I really resonated with you when you explained how you kind of came into photography, because I share a similar story where it was literally, I purchased the SLR. I remember it was a Nikon D40, like super old.
Yeah.
And I just started shooting, and it was started with, things inside your house and getting together with your friends. It's like, hey, you want to just shoot? And you just roam the streets with a camera, right? So that part is always awesome. And that's kind of like how I kind of started too. And just going back to your photography, like, would you say cars are your favorite things to shoot, or do you like shooting other things as well?
Yeah, cars are the main thing I like to shoot. I was never really too comfortable with people up until recently, just because, cars, you park it, you leave it, and then you walk around and you take your time and you take your shots that you want to take. With people, you have to wait for their expressions. You have to, timing is everything with people. And just the kind of the type of guy that just like to take my time and make sure everything is right. But, and with people too, like, they can be very judgmental about the shots that you take. If you take a bad, they can be like, what is this? And so I was never really up for that criticism. I wanted to open myself up to I guess, failure in not being able to capture the right moment. So, I kept my people taking a photography to, my family, my kids and people. So yeah, cars are my thing.
Yeah. Sorry. So, with shooting cars, on that note, like, are there, certain things that you look for when you shoot a car? Because obviously, a car is a car. Like, how creative can you be with a car? And for me, on my end, I've always shot people, right? I've done weddings, I've done events, family engagement, all that stuff. And actually, shooting people is actually one of my favorite things to do, because I love capturing the moment, right?
Yeah.
And I did go through a period where, people didn't like the photo or didn't like their angle and so on and so forth. But, when you go through those things, you kind of learn how to be better, right?
Totally.
So, now that I'm shooting more cars ever since I've kind of incepted into KodaWari Collective, I honestly am trying to figure out many different ways of shooting it. And when I look at your photography, I think it's super dope. So, how do you get creative with car photography? Because at the same time, you can only shoot it so much. You know what I mean?
No, it's true. I've tried to evolve my style over the years, and photography seems like a very easy thing to do, but like, you can only shoot something, especially a car, at so many different angles and make it look so good all the time, right? So I recently, one of the techniques that I really like to use is the use of foreground in my photos. Getting behind trees, getting some leaves in the photo, not to distract the photo, but bring something else into the photo other than the car, so that you can bring some other points of interest to the picture. Because a lot of times, I can take a picture of my car with my phone and then post it, but if it could be ugly, it could just be a regular shot, but you want to bring some interest to the photo. And that's what I've been trying to do, is bring color, bring interest, and have the eye move in different spots of the picture, rather than just the car all the time. And I think that's what makes it interesting. And it's funny that you ask, what kind of inspires me when I shoot cars. And this is a bad thing to say, but if a car is just stock, it's very difficult for me to shoot it, because it's in car, you know what I mean? But if there's a lot of thought and detail and effort into it, it inspires me to try to shoot every detail and every piece of that car. And important, right? And that's important to the owner too. If they have titanium bolts on their wings, they put some thought into that. And so you want to capture that. Whereas a stock car is, you see this car, down the street when you're driving, there's nothing special about it, but you do what you got to do whenever you're shooting. So
no, I totally get it. And shooting modified cars are a lot easier, because you want to be, like you said, capture the pretty much the details that they put their time and effort into, right? Whether it's a bolt or a rim or like a little piece inside, it's all the fine details that people focus on. And you know, I like that you capture the wheel, or like you capture the shift knob, or you capture a piece of the grill, and being creative with that. And I noticed that, you know, just going through your Instagram, I did some research on you, and your style has evolved a lot. And you know, with me, my style has always evolved too, whether it's, you know, kind of doing color correction, changing the filter, making it more moodier, making it cleaner. You kind of get creative with Lightroom. I'm sure you use Lightroom, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, compared to like what you did before, not saying that it wasn't good, it was great, but it just kept getting better and better. And that's kind of like similar to my progression too, right? So yeah, I really liked the photo shoot you did of your Type R, how it was in the sunset, and I could tell you did some color grading there. So yeah, no, great job on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I like I like that feeling of, you know, level up whenever you know, when you're editing photos, you're like,
Absolutely.
I just hit a new, I got a new skill. I learned something new. And so it happens. And, you know, I find, you know, going through my photography over the years, like I'll look back, you know, a year from now, or 2 years from now, I'm like, yeah, that was all right. And then I look back, you know, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and I'm just like, what was I thinking? Like, why did I shoot? But at the time, you know, I know when I was editing it, I was like, man, this looks good. So, you know, it looked good at the time, I'm sure. But, you know, as you look back and you start to cringe at yourself, you know that you're just getting better, right? So
Yeah. I know exactly how you feel. I think I had that recently where I was like, oh shit, I leveled up. My
yeah,
photos are getting way better.
yeah,
Yes, I'm doing something right.
for sure.
Yeah, I think that applies across the board, even with your car builds. You know, you look back at some of the modifications that you put on your earlier builds, and you're like, ooh.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
What stage of my life was I at to want to do that, right? But you know, when you spoke about you know, not charging for these photo shoots, and you know, some photographers may kind of feel a certain way about that because, you know, they take so much pride in their work. But I think it's how you see things. There are other things that you benefited from that, you know, just connecting and building your community, which I think you've done, you know, very, very well, very successfully. And you wouldn't have been able to do that without kind of giving free value, not only to the car that you're shooting and the owner that you're shooting for, but you're also like, you're putting in the work. There's a lot of work and creativity that you have to invest in each shoot. And I think it's come back for you, like in ways that I don't think you don't always have a monetary value for. Right.
Yeah,
So
no, thank you. I appreciate that. And I look at it the exact same way. I know that, you know, there's people, the professional photographers are like, well, if you're not charging, they're going to go to you and for free. And now we're not making any money. And I said, and the way I see it is, I don't consider myself a professional. I don't take the best pictures in the world. I take pictures for myself. I share it for myself and whoever wants to look at it. And for you, you know, whoever wants to come and share their car with me. I think over the years, you know, being able to build those relationships. Yeah, maybe I only shot this guy's car once, but now, you know, he's still sharing his pictures years from now, like as a throwback and everything. So it's really the exposure that I've gotten and the relationships that I've been able to make over the years. That's important to me. I don't care about the dollar amount, or, you know, how much money I could have made, or how much gas it took me to, you know, get to the photo shoot location. So, you know, everybody looks at it a different way, and that's just kind of how I see it. So.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I mean, I started off very similar to you, and like I could have charged for my work, but you know, I've never really considered myself as a professional as well. And you know, I did a lot of free work. I mean, I would say for the first couple of years, I just did free work because I just wanted to, you know, get better at my craft.
Yeah.
I knew that I loved it, but I knew that I had a lot of work, and I still feel that I have a lot of work to do, right? Because you can only get better. So, you know, it was either I charge you the rate that I would charge you, or I charge you something cheaper, but then would that kind of devalue my work? So you know what, at that point, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it for free. It's part of my portfolio, and you know, it's going to only get me better as a photographer, right?
Yep, exactly. And especially when it's not something that you're trying to live off of, right? I know that there are photographers that live off of this hobby. But for me, you know, shooting brings, just like probably for you, brings you you know, joy, and it helps you build yourself and grow. And that's important to me. I don't like I said, don't need the dollar. I need the experience. I need the ability to, you know, to grow and to be better. That's what I want.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's, hearing that from both of you guys kind of reminds me as to the kind of mindset that we want to have with Kodawari. You know, if we're trying to build a brand, if we're trying to build a community, right? How do we do it the right way, right? And I think it comes down to, you know, providing value to people. You know, when you go and you shoot, and you're providing these awesome photos, these memories that people will be able to kind of carry with them for the rest of their life. That's your value prop, right? And while you're doing that, you're also connecting with people and you're building that relationship, right? So that's kind of how we want to be doing things here at Kodawari. You know, if we're going to be building a community, we gotta create something of value to everyone, whether it's, you know, a cool shop and a place to hang out, you know, or if we're trying to build a business around something that we love, share with everyone our struggles. You know, what does it take? You know, how do we get consistent with producing content of value that people can enjoy, right? And I think that's what we've been really kind of struggling with over this past year. I know you've been really consistent with, well, from the outside looking in on your blog, with your photography, like even just your Instagram page, you have thousands of posts, right? And it's, you know, I think consistency is a big part of having success in this field, right? So do you want to kind of touch on kind of how that journey with your blog and like being consistent with posting on Instagram? And I know I've read a few blog posts where you've kind of thought about giving up the blog, but Diane kind of reminded you that, hey, this is something that you really do enjoy and that you're passionate about. So yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some really good points. I just want to make a comment on the value piece that you talked about, and value is important because especially like in the detail line of business like that you guys are in, you know, not everybody, and I can say this because I know a little bit about detailing as well, and not everybody knows the value of detailing. They just kind of think that as long as my car is clean, that's good enough.
Yeah.
But they don't know what a perfectly polished car looks like. You know, a lot of times, but once you provide that value to them and you create these relationships, they're going to come back. They're going to refer their friends to you. They're always going to, and they're going to be lifelong customers. And the way that I relate to that is the same way as when I shoot. Maybe I shoot for free, whereas you guys, you know, obviously have a business. But when I shoot someone's car, they're gonna say, "Hey, Jason, you know, can shoot your car if you want a photo shoot." And so through that kind of relationship, I could decide, "Hey, I'm gonna start charging now because I've built up this clientele." In the same way that if you guys are providing exceptional value to your customers, you're gonna continue building your customer base as well, indirectly, right? They're going to tell their friends, and their friends are going to tell their friends. And I think that's the important thing of value and consistency. Those two correlate well together. And so, kind of going back to my blog on consistency, you know, for the first couple months, years even, you know, hit count, views, followers, that really meant a big part. It meant a lot to me. And you know, in hindsight, it shouldn't have. You know, I was always trying to get the most views. I was always trying to get the most followers. And at the end of the day, people are going to follow you if they like your stuff, and people are going to keep coming back if they want to keep looking at your stuff. And so, you know, it wasn't until later in my blogging, you know, days that I was like, I don't care how many people come to my site. I don't care how many, you know, views I get per day, as long as I'm putting out whatever I want to put out. And you know, over the last, you know, 12 to 15 years here, I've just been consistent with my posts. I don't care if people like what I post. I don't care if people care about my life or my kids or my family. But, you know, at the end of the day, when you ask some of my friends, you know, hey, you know, what do you think about my blog? A lot of them are just like, I love that it's just so personal. And so, and consistent. And so to your point about being consistent and doing what you love doing and continuing it without, you know, giving up, that's what really matters, I think. And you're right. And sorry, to your point, Diana, many times has said, no, don't delete it. Don't get rid of it. Because, you know, 12 years of work, once you delete that, that's gone. A lot of the memories, a lot of the words that you've written, they'll be gone. And so that always kind of hits home for me. I forget about that, about all of the posts that I've written over the last few years. When she tells me, you know, that'll be gone, I'll be like, oh, all right, I'll stop. I won't get rid of it. So.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you stuck to it, man. It's a great way to kind of document your life, right? Your legacy in a way. And it's something that you can always refer back and look and be like, oh, shit, I did do that. Because sometimes we have so much that goes on that we forget a lot about the good memories that we've had in the past. And,
yeah,
you know, I should start my own blog, just kind of hearing your side of things, because I have a lot of photos in the last like 5 to 6 years, just pure photos, right? That I've always wanted to put together. But, you know, kudos to you for continuing on with that blog.
Thank you. Yeah. And, you know, my, you know, if a lot of people have come and asked, is, you know, should I start a blog? What does it take to start a blog? And it takes nothing. You post, you write about it, and then you move on. And you just keep doing it. And, you know, next thing you know, you're a year in, you're 5 years in, and you've got this collection. And I would say, you know, if you have time, I would recommend doing it. Not everybody likes to do it, and not everybody wants to put in the time, but you know, it's something that's nice to have. It's like your own personalized like photo album with commentary that you can kind of keep for yourself, and whoever wants to follow along and, you know, come with you on the journey, feel free. But other than that, it's just for you. Do it for yourself.
Sorry, Chris. Would you say that you've enjoyed the process of putting together a post? You know, taking the photos, putting together the blog post, right? I know you spoke about how, like, at the beginning, the metrics of how many people saw it or how many page visits, that meant a lot to you, right? But do you think you've transitioned over to enjoying the process of actually doing it and then not caring so much about who's going to see it or what they think about it?
For sure. And I'm glad you brought that up. At the beginning, you know, a lot of my posts were really carefully written, carefully, you know, tailored so that I wasn't going to offend anybody, so that I wasn't going to say anything wrong. And, you know, in the last several years, I've really just gotten to the point where I don't care. And maybe that's kind of prude of me to say, but it's my blog, and, you know, I can write what I want. I can talk about my own opinions, and, you know, people can agree or disagree, and it doesn't matter to me, right? It doesn't change my passion. It doesn't change my vision of what I want out of my own photography and my own blog if you disagree with me. It simply just means that you just stop following me, and I never even knew you, right? So that's kind of how I see it. Is you know, I now it's more enjoyable because I really write how I feel. I write about my thoughts. I write about my opinions, and it's just for me, and it's for people who enjoy reading it. So it definitely has turned into less of a job and a task of where I'm consciously thinking, how can I make sure that I'm catering to the world and everybody that's reading this, and more of just I'm writing this for myself. I'm writing this as a form of therapy sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really awesome. And my question to you, it's great that you document your life. Have you ever thought about kind of like dabbling into like vlogging and kind of creating video content?
Yeah. I've recently kind of just did that with my art, and I don't know if you've seen it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I've made a couple tutorials with my voice, and I made a few reels with some of my drawing, but I'm uncomfortable being on the other side of the camera. It's a very weird thing, and I don't know if all photographers are like this. Maybe you can comment, but like even now on this Zoom call, it's weird for me because I'm always on the other side of the camera taking the picture. I'm always doing
Yeah.
stuff. So having my voice, my face in video, I don't know. Personal thing. It's I'm very self-conscious about that kind of stuff. So, and I don't know how to edit video. So somewhere along the lines, but yeah, I don't know. I thought about it, but I'm just like the amount of work it takes just to edit photos alone.
Mm-hmm.
The video, you double, you triple that time, and I'm just like, I don't know if I have the time to do that. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 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 it's a different beast in itself. And much like you, I'm very behind the scenes. I'm always behind the camera, right? So kind of ever since I joined Kodawari, it's kind of forced me to kind of be in front of a camera, talk in front of a microphone, and just feel comfortable with just watching myself. Because every time before, when I look at myself in a video or hear my voice, I would cringe, right? I'm just like, oh, I don't like seeing my face or hearing my voice. But after doing like so many videos, I've become a lot more comfortable in front of the camera. And I mean, you're killing it over Zoom, man. You're a natural, so don't even worry
Thanks,
about
man.
that. But yeah, going back to your point about kind of editing videos and whatnot, it is a lengthier process. And that's something that I'm starting to dabble into. And I've actually, like, since the pandemic started, I just created like family vlogs for my friends and family, and I would just kind of share it with them. And I felt like, you know what, I could do this. I could try my hand at this. But like you said, it's really timing for me because it does take a lot more time than editing a photo.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the time. I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to have time to edit all this video. I don't have time to edit the photos that I take when I do take them. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I still think it's pretty incredible the amount of output you have in terms of on the creative side for cars and your IG and your cartoons, considering you have two young daughters, you have a 9-to-5 job, right? So how's that been like from the transition of before you had your first daughter? Sorry, I remember her. I forgot her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Aria. Yeah. From the time you had Aria, managing all that, right? Your job, your passion, and spending time with Diana, everything. How's that been?
Yeah, it's changed for the better, I think. It's hard to explain, I guess. It's not hard. Like once you have your child, and I know you guys probably know this, once you guys have your kid, it's not hard to easily shift your attention to them. They become a new priority in life that you never thought would be as big a priority. You knew that they're important, but now your world revolves around these kids, and it's easy to put cars and photography on the back burner for a long time, and that's what I did for my photography and my photo shoots. I just stopped taking pictures just because I was more interested in spending time with my kids and my family. Whereas before, when it was just me and Diana, it was okay. Well, I'm gonna go out. I'll see you in a bit, and then she would go out and do it. It's easy to do that, but you can't really just leave your kid alone and just say, okay, see you later. You want to spend a lot of time with them, and so my priorities definitely shifted, and they stayed shifted, and I think for the better. A lot of the stuff that I do now is purely when I just have time, when maybe the kids are with the grandparents or whatever, and I can spend an extra hour or two doing whatever I want. And so that's kind of what I've done, a lot of what I do in my output for my blog and everything has definitely slowed down for sure. And if it is something on Instagram or whatever, it's probably of the kids. So my car always comes last. As much as I love my car, it's not no longer a priority for me. It's not on top of my list. My paychecks don't go to the car anymore. So yeah, so it's for the better though. You're growing old, getting more mature, priorities shift, but no regrets.
Yeah, I think, just speaking from my personal experience, with Anderson being 2 years old, him coming into the world, it's a shift of priorities, right? And we've gone through a good chunk of our lives where we're always constantly concerned about us, like what do we want next, or what's the goal that we have for this year and that, right? And it's great, but having that shift where you actually have to consider someone else, it's nice. When you're not all consumed about your ego and your mission and things you got to do, and you actually have to take care of somebody small and take care of them, it's refreshing. I think that's just what I've kind of felt over the past 2 years with Anderson, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that you want them to grow up to be a good fucking person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want them to grow up to be an asshole, because you come across assholes every day of your life, and you really wonder how they get there. And when you have your own kid, you're just like, my kid is never going to be like that. You want them to grow up to be a good person. A lot of time and effort and energy goes into that, and I'm sure you guys can agree. It's much more worth it at the end to invest your time and mental energy into that kid than which is just going to be there forever if you wanted it to be. So yeah, it is refreshing for sure.
Yeah, just based on my kind of experience, I have a 18-month-old son, and it's definitely been an eye opener. Once that child is kind of born into this world, you not to say that people are selfish, but you don't realize how selfish you felt before you had a kid. Because before, it's always about what you want, or what I want to buy, and I want this and that. But once that kid came into the world, it was just like, I just became automatically like selfless. It's like, it's not even, first off, obviously it's not about me or my wife. It's only about this little human being, right? Yep. And it was such a crazy experience for me. And now he's at an age where he's just running around, just so curious. And all he wants to do is just play with mommy and daddy. And that feeling in itself is just amazing.
Yep. Right. It's, you can't replicate that in any other way.
Most definitely. And it's just funny because last night, I just brought out my Hot Wheels, right? And I just started playing around with them. And then now he's starting to kind of line up the cars and whatnot. And I was like, man, I miss being a kid.
Yeah, totally.
And
with now, I mean, Anderson is already doing that, right?
Yeah, no, Anderson's, it warms my heart to see him kind of so passion or just like, passionate about cars, he lines them up. He's surrounded by cars all the time now. Um, I I'm really looking forward to all the experiences that we can have, kind of like father and son, going to car meets and building our own cars, right? Having that kind of relationship, because
Yeah.
that's important to me. As having immigrant parents, they were too busy providing for us to be able to kind of enjoy these things, but them making that sacrifice has opened the door to us being able to enjoy these things with our family. So I'll always be super grateful to my parents for that. um, and that kind of, I want to ask you a question, Jason. You guys have done car meets. you know Out of all the ones that you've kind of been involved in, like what is your biggest takeaway? Have you guys anything that you've made mistakes where you've learned from, and like what would you recommend? Because we hopefully want to be able to kind of start hosting our own annual Kodawari, like a car meet.
Yeah, over the years, I think it's really important. The one thing that we really learned real quick after the first year was planning was important. And you don't really think about it, especially depending on the space that you have. We had to really make sure that we had, enough space, and whatever number of spaces we had the cars that would fit them. One of the guys, Ryan, would draft up a legit drafting of the parking lot and fit the cars perfectly by group. And that really helped us because the day of roll-in, we knew exactly where each car was going. Year that we did it, we didn't know. Everybody was just parking everywhere. It was a gong show, and it was just a lot more stress than we needed. So a lot of planning, ensuring that everybody knows where they're going to go, and where they're going to go, was important. And a big thing too was we decided against filtering cars out. Based on what you liked or what you didn't like. We were gonna let everybody in as long as they were in at the deadline. And every year that we opened up registration, it was full within minutes. And so whoever got in during that registration would be in the show. Doesn't matter if your car was a piece of junk or it was like $1 million. If you were in the registration line and you got in, and you were in. And so we never really were picky about who was in the show. And I think we were involved in a few other shows where they were a little picky with who was in there, and it can get very very dangerous, I guess is the word, when you're starting to get picky about who's in your show. Because to one person, car A will be really nice, but to another person, it'll be a piece of shit, right? And so they're going to say, how come my car wasn't chosen for this, right? So that's another piece of advice that that is worth a little bit, because once you're picking and choosing, then it becomes very personal, and won't want to come to your show if you're choosing only all your friends or only all the cars that you like, right? So yeah, planning is number one, I think.
Oh yeah, that's with anything, right? But yeah, no, that's awesome. A little bit of tidbit, but on the topic of cars, car scenes, and culture, one of the other things that I do notice in terms of details on your car is a level 1 sticker, right? And when you hear level 1, you think about a group of guys that come together and build tastefully modded cars. And they're generally based out of Toronto, and that's how I discovered them, right? How is your involvement? How did that you and level 1 came to be?
Well, it kind of goes back to the Ill Motion days, actually. We let me think now. Yeah, we two of us went out to Toronto. I wasn't there. A few of our other friends in Ill Motion did go out, and through social media, we knew the level 1 guys, Dan and Galen, and they met up and they shot their cars for Ill Motion. And they had their own level 1 thing, and we had our IllMotion thing. And at the time, it was just we were just friends, and we kind of stuck to our own groups. And then I think it's funny because I think eventually either Galen or one of us asked, hey, how can we get a level 1 sticker? Because we really like the design, we really like how simple it was, and we just kind of wanted something cool to put on our car, just like back in the day everyone wanted some kind of sticker to put on the car, and that was kind of what it was. And Galen offered it to us, and through that we ended up being good friends, and we still talk today. And it's funny because level 1 really isn't any business or anything. It's just a collective group of friends that appreciate good builds, good cars, and each other's cars. And it's funny because whenever a friend wants in, it's always like, hey, this guy has this car, here's some pictures, can he have a sticker? And all of us will vote and say, yeah, okay, he's cool. And so that's just kind of how it's grown. It's just friends enjoying cars, and much like I'm sure you guys enjoy your own cars. Same thing. It's just a way of identifying as a group of friends is all it is.
Yeah, just growing up, I kind of look up at those guys as like the OGs. Back when I was still building my first my first car. Like these guys had, their builds were dope. Everything was super clean. Just very well executed, right? So, yeah, really, really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think it helps to I identify or hang out with people with really good builds, because it really does inspire you to do the same. Because you have a couple friends with I don't know, for example, top tier Mugen builds. You don't want to be left behind on Rodas and fake parts, right? So it kind of just inspires you and drives you to build your car better. And I think that's the essence of the group, is everyone is just kind of building to have really good cars.
Yeah, like you guys have certain values. If you appreciate authentic parts, if you appreciate the companies that put all the effort into that, if you appreciate how certain things are executed, then having a group like that or building a brand like that is a great way to connect with like-minded people, right? Yep. Which is what we're trying to do here at KodaWari, right? It's like letting our content, letting the work we do, letting creating, letting people in on how we think, to really find your tribe, find your the right people that you want to build relationships with.
Yeah, and to that point too, I really enjoy what you guys are putting out for KodaWari, because I know detailing shops, I know a bunch of other detailing shops, and a lot of what you see is posts of products, posts of their end result, or posts of their befores and afters, and it's great. It's good to see. I like seeing a shiny car after it's been restored, but it's nice to see something different. On your guys' page, it's nice to be able to see something other than products, and it's what kind of brings me back. So it's what makes you guys stand out. So if anyone ever says, hey, you guys know any detailing shops in Toronto, you guys are the first ones that come to mind, because you're putting out different things, and it's that really kind of brings the attention. It's good advertising, really. When you kind of see the same ad pop up on your feed over and over and over again, mm-hmm. That's all you think about, right? Yeah, eventually you're like, yeah, I need that, or I next time you need that kind of service, the first thing that pops up is you guys. It's good marketing. You guys are doing a good job.
Thanks, Jason. That means a lot, because we've been struggling with kind of what we want to put out there, right? We're like, oh, should we put out more product photos? Should we do, more teaching people how to use these products? Like what's our value prop? Like what makes us unique, right? And we've been trying to figure out that for a while. And I think hearing, with there being so many detailing shops in the city, like we have to really dig in on what is important to us, right? Is kind of digging in on car culture, trying to create a business around like a passion, because detailing is not our passion. It just the foundation of which the business is being built on right now. But we really want to get into, what it's like to kind of build a business in this day and age. Like we have to almost have like a little media team, like how do we connect with people? How do we, have people want to support us, right? And it has to, I think it comes back down to showing the faces behind the business, behind the brand, right? Talking about our struggles, talking about like how clueless we are sometimes running around, just getting this podcast set up. We're just like running around like a bunch of headless chickens. But, like our team is kind of committed to like a bigger goal. We know what we're trying to do, and yeah, it's a process, and we're, I think, trying to learn how to enjoy the process, right? Because we're still very early in it.
Yeah, and you know what you say resonates with me a lot. Different for sure, but same thing with my blog. You're trying to figure out what you want to do, what to do, to get to where you want to be. But really, again, it all comes down to consistency. You guys keep doing what you're doing, and what you do starts to evolve and change as you go. You'll come up with new ideas. And you'll put it out and people will love it, and then people will hate it, but at the end of the day you're still putting out content. And I think that's the important thing is that really is important, because I see some of your videos of you guys training to put on 3M film, and it's things like that really stands out. It might not, to you might wonder, is this worth it? And it really is, because now now you put out a video that shows people that you guys now know how to do 3M, and you were trained by somebody that's professional. So it's those little things that you don't really think about, but from a customer point of view or an outsider's point of view, it's important, because now for me, if I was looking for someone, I'd know that, okay, you guys were trained, you guys know what you're doing. I see videos of what you guys are doing. I think it's a good idea to go to you guys. So consistency, I think, is super key for you guys right now. I mean, I'm not one to take advice from, but if anything, consistency is one thing that I know a lot about. So keep it up. Don't change anything. Keep putting it out, and eventually you guys will grow.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, no, we're gonna keep kind of trying to keep putting out content and telling our story, right? I think we recently I kind of tried to come up with a mission statement for the team, and I think a big part of our mission statement is documenting our journey, right? Whether that's, hey, you know what, we're going to try the PPF thing, we're going to try our best to learn it and provide that service. That might work, that might not, but we have to just try it out, and hopefully, talking about it and sharing it with our viewers, because I know we do have other people who are business owners and they're trying to navigate this, this year, this pandemic, their business, and we're trying to just share, as much as we can, in hopes of not only adding some positive light into this community, because I feel like sometimes from the outside looking in, everyone kind of views the automotive industry as like, there's a lot of ego. Everyone's kind of keeping stuff to themselves and being very private about certain things, right? So we're hoping to change that with our content, right? And yeah, it's been a challenge, but we're hearing and connecting with other like-minded people like yourself, Jason, is not only inspiring, but it helps remind us that we're stumbling down the right path, the right direction, at least.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with stumbling as long as you're stumbling forward.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. And And you know, this kind of like brings me to my next question. Now that we've talked about cars, culture, and you as an individual, I want to dive into like, you know, your other hobbies because, you know, upon my, you know, research and kind of creeping your Instagram per se, I noticed that, you know, you're also into fashion and shoes, and you're a big watch guy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Good research. Good research. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a little part of us that, all of us kind of want to look good to a certain extent. And uh,
Yeah.
going back to, I guess, watches, that was before kids when I could afford it. But I decided to keep those pieces. I view watches as a man's version of a purse. If
Mhm.
a woman can carry around a $5,000 to $10,000 bag, why can't we wear the same equivalent of a watch? Because really, what else can we wear, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, a watch is a good statement piece, and I look into it one here and there, but then I realize I have kids, and I have to feed them and keep them alive, and then the dream goes away. So that's why I kept my old few pieces. But that's kind of it.
Yeah. No, you have a very, very nice watch collection, and you don't play around when it comes to
Oh
that.
yeah. That was like
Uh,
that was one of the few things that I bought when I was still living at home and I got my full-time job. I could afford it. I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I didn't think I was going to spend that much on a watch, but you do it and it's over with, and you get over it. But then it's a piece that you have, I guess, for the rest of your life, unless I decide to sell it. But if I
yeah.
sell it, I know that I'm never going to get it again. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I also noticed that, you know, you seems like you're a big fan of raw denim.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna dig into your fashion side now.
Yeah, I love raw denim. I've been wearing raw denim for the last, oh man, like 16 years.
Yeah.
And I can't get over it. So it's sweet.
Do you kind of dig into like wearing it for like days on end to get that perfect wash? And, you know, because I was into raw denim, but it was a lot of work to kind of break them in and to get the wash that you want. Because when you first receive them, they're like stiff, like
Yeah.
super stiff. And I think generally they're all imported from Japan, right?
A lot of them use like the Japanese cotton, but not all are made in Japan. So, like for example, Nudie is I think made in Sweden or Switzerland. I can't remember. Making and Famous. Another one is made in Canada.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah, so and there's a whole bunch of other ones. I just recently picked up a pair of Momotaros. So those
I
ones are
saw
from
that.
Japan for sure. So those are my
Mhm.
grail pairs. So I've been looking for that
Yeah.
for years. So yeah, I love raw denim. I love how personal it can get. I love that you can choose when you want to wash them. Really, I know it sounds nasty to
Mhm.
a lot of people, but uh, it's
I,
yeah, it's definitely cool.
yeah, I was into that world of raw denim and just that whole style, just because based off of Japanese culture, right? And I think the first pair of raw denim I purchased was a Levi's raw denim, and I was just kind of playing like a 501, I believe, and I was just playing around with them, submerging into water. I went like
Yeah.
months on end, just wearing the same pair of jeans like now it gets crazy because people actually start freezing their jeans just so it would smell less,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a culture behind that. And I think the last pair of raw denim I have is APC. Have you heard of a brand called
Yep.
APC?
Yeah.
Um, that was really nice, and I still have it. It's been like 12 years with those pair. I just can't
Wow.
wear them anymore because obviously I've gained weight and they're just way too tight. They're just way too tight. And just the skinny look is not in for me now. I'm all about like just
No.
comfy, cozy vibes. So that's funny.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing. It's like you got to hope that the style that you get is the style that'll last for a few years at least. But yeah, for sure. It's one of the things that I made sure to do was when we had Aria and Rin, I got a pair for the same time that they were born. So I wore like I didn't really go over well with Rin because I have too many. I couldn't wear them all. But with Aria, I had one pair of Naked and Famous that I wore basically every day since the day she was born until she was 3 years old. And that pair went through a whole bunch of wear and tear and, you know, dirt and food. And they're like my favorite pair now because of how well they've worn out. But yeah, it's a cool little thing for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool because like every time you wear those pants, you'll remember all those years with Aria, right? You'll be like,
exactly.
I remember this stain right here, or like this crease, right?
Yeah.
It's that's pretty dope.
We need to get you a pair now.
Yeah, you'll put some good wear on it while you're detailing all the cars and everything. They'll look sick.
Oh man, I just hope I don't rip them, man. But yeah, no, it's cool that we get to kind of geek out and kind of talk about this stuff. And I think this is a really fun thing about connecting on the podcast. You know, like I think every single time that we stumble upon something or have an opportunity to pick up and talk about these hobbies, Sherry kind of like rolls her eyes at me. So, you know, like how's, you know, I know you and Diana have been together for a long time, right? Like how's she been with supporting your hobbies and how have you navigated that landscape?
Yeah, we've been together for 16 years now. So we met in junior high, but from the day that I met her, she's never been into cars. And that's totally fine with me. I remember when we first started dating, I tried to, you know, force the car love onto her, but it never stuck. And so I've just given up. But so, you know, she I think from that, she kind of understands, you know, my passion for cars and my love for cars and everything that, you know, has to do with cars. And it's not just, you know, it's hard to make it sound like something that you don't want to just always throw money at. I mean, it kind of is, but at the same time, it's like, you really got to love cars. And I think she understands that. And she understood that, you know, early on in the game. And, you know, whatever I want to do with cars, whatever I want to do with it, she fully supports it. And when I want to sell one, she says, "Are you sure?" You know? And yeah, she's just kind of been behind me every step of the way. So, I mean, she doesn't have any input into, you know, what my car should look like or what should happen to it. But, you know, I always tell her, hey, you know, I remember with the F4S, I said, hey, I'm getting this Voltex wing. She's like, how much is it? I dropped the price and she said, she shakes her head, walks out of the room, and I go and I go and order it. You know, that's kind of how it is. So that's as long as she's not like, no, don't do that, it's ugly or whatever, it's cool. But no, she's been fully supportive of everything that I do, so it's good.
That's cool. Yeah. I think as we, you know, as we get more into like creating content for TikTok, I think that's going to be a little bit of some humor that we can bring to car culture, is talking about that dynamic between your spouse and your hobbies and your passion for things, right? Because me and Chris have been through a few stories where we're trying to cover for each other, like whether it's ordering car parts to each other's houses and hiding it from our partners. It's it gets pretty messy, but yeah, Jason, no, this was a lot of fun. You know, you're I've wanted to connect with you for a while. I remember when I was visiting my cousin Tony in Calgary, things didn't line up, but I'm grateful that, you know, given how much you have on your plate, that you made time for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I appreciate it. I appreciate the thought of having me on here. You know, it's a first for me. So, you know, I'm glad that I was able to be a part of this. I'm excited to hear it when it comes out again. I definitely want to show my wife and, you know, possibly share it on Instagram and everywhere else that I can if you let me. But yeah, it's that this was fun. It's been cool for sure.
Yeah. No, it's a pleasure to meet you on my end. You know, I feel like I already know you, when I haven't even met you, but it was awesome just to kind of talk to you about your life and, you as an enthusiast, artist, and even a father. So thank you so much for joining us today on the episode of KodaCast.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Any final thoughts now?
Jason, do you like beef jerky?
I love beef jerky.
Okay, well, my cousin that lives in Calgary, he makes a super meat beef jerky. So as a thank you, we'll get your information and we'll send you a little care package.
Awesome. That sounds dope, man. Cool. I'm stoked.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Jason.
Right. So that wraps it up for the Kodawari podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. And until next time, we hope to see you again. So peace out, y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.